Hey everyone, welcome back, I'm Colin. Today we're taking a look at the Gustard Audalytic HP70. This is a dedicated headphone amplifier that also functions as a preamplifier. The Audalytic line is kind of the budget line for Gustard products, and the HP70 retails for around $350. I've spent around a month using the HP70, so let's get right into the walkthrough and my impressions. Starting with the physical build on the front, going from left to right, we have a touch-sensitive power button. The startup time takes about 5 seconds. Then we have an OLED screen, the volume knob, a balanced headphone output, and a standard 1/4-inch headphone output. Moving around to the back, again from left to right, there is one set of XLR inputs and 2 sets of RCA inputs. For outputs, you get one set of RCA pre-outs and one set of XLR pre-outs. Next to that is a DC input port if you want to connect to an external power supply. I didn't test that for this review. And finally, a fused IEC port that does allow for fuse changes if you're into that. Notice that there is no physical power switch on the back. For controls, you can short press the power button to mute the HP70. A short press of the volume knob changes your inputs. And a long press accesses the menu. Speaking of volume control, the HP70 uses a clicky relay R2R mechanism. It gives off a very satisfying, somewhat loud click when you change the volume. A nice detail here is that audio signal doesn't cut out during general adjustments. You only get a brief cutout during specific volume steps, like moving from 34 to 35 and a few specific volume steps, when the latter switches over. But there's no click or pop that I can hear. However, if you need to make big volume adjustments, using the knob can feel a bit slow. Because of that, I recommend using the included remote for that. It's just more convenient. A long press of the volume button on the remote adjusts the level much quicker. The remote also gives you easy access to the menu UI, where you can adjust your gain, toggle the preamp and headphone amp functions on and off, or turn the screen off. There's also a standard mute button. Nothing overly complicated. Let's talk about the headphone amp. Internally, it features a Class A circuit design utilizing 4 pairs of MOSFET transistors. In terms of raw power, it can push out a solid 2 watts or 2000 milliwatts into 32 ohms from its balanced output, which is plenty of juice for most applications. First, I wanted to test the background noise. I plugged the Ziggett Aratate 2 IEMs into the balanced port. With nothing playing, the gain set to maximum of plus 28 dB, and the volume maxed out at 99, I could hear a little bit of hissing, but honestly, it's very minor. When I lowered the gain to a much more suitable level, around 18 or 20 decibels, it was dead silent, even at max volume. Next, I tested its driving power with the Fostex T60RP, which is notoriously hard to drive due to its low sensitivity. Using the maximum plus 28 dB gain, I was able to reach my normal listening level at around 60 to 65 out of 99 steps, so there is still quite a bit of headroom left if you are a loud listener. I will note that after driving the Fostex for long periods, the HP70 does get slightly warm to the touch. It doesn't get hot, so it shouldn't be an issue even if you decide to stack it with other gear. Talking about the T60RP, I actually just replaced the stock pads with the Dakoni Platinum pads, which provide much better comfort and seal thanks to its angled design, making it thicker at the back and thinner at the front. These pads really improve the bass impact of my T60RP. There's also a velour fabric here and here to cut down the treble a bit if you have bright sounding sets. Check out the link below to the Dakoni site if you are looking for new pads for any of your headphones. Now back to the HP70 to test the sound quality. I used two sources, the SMSL D200 desktop DAC and the iBasso DX340 using its line out. Overall, the HP70 exerts very good driver control. Whether I'm running sensitive IEMs or demanding planners, there is excellent separation. When driving the picky T60RP, the stage sounds wide and airy and it completely avoids sounding shrill, which is usually what happens when an amp lacks current. The bass also slams with authority on the T60RP, which again can be absent if an amp is underpowered. To sum up the headphone amp performance, it is highly transparent. I couldn't pick up any coloration. It simply reflects the tonal signature of your source or DAC. It drives headphones with good dynamics and handles IEMs with tight control. I'm very satisfied with its performance. I do want to mention the gain settings, as they do alter the sound. High gain seems to provide better treble extension and soundstage precision. Low gain, on the other hand, gives you slightly more bass quantity, or rather a slightly slower bass quality. And the treble sounds just a bit rolled off in comparison. It's a subtle thing, but it does allow you to fine-tune your sound slightly. Moving on to the HP70 as a preamp, similar to the headphone amp, I couldn't hear any coloration either. A feature I really appreciate in this mode is also the gain control. It's incredibly useful when matching your sources and amplification to maximize the dynamic range of your system, ensuring your preamp is outputting at its absolute sweet spot that the more budget Fosi ZP3 preamp didn't have. Another highly important feature is the volume display. A lot of you commented about the lack of a volume indicator in my Fosi ZP3 review. The HP70 has it right there on the OLED screen. In my opinion, as a pure preamp, the HP70 is a better device than the Fosi ZP3, specifically because of that gain control and volume display. However, it does lack some flexibility. There are no tone controls, no high-pass filter, and no dedicated sub-out ports that the Fosi has. I had to use the only set of RCA pre-outs to run to my subwoofer. Before we finish, I have a few complaints or areas for improvement. First, the gain control does not remember your setting across different inputs. If you are switching between different inputs and outputs, you have to manually adjust the gain each time, which can be tedious. Second, and this is a nitpick, I personally prefer a physical tactile on-off switch rather than a touch-sensitive button. And third, as I mentioned at the start, there's no physical off switch at the IEC port. If you want to turn the device completely off and take it out of standby mode, you have to unplug it from the wall. Overall, if those cons are okay for you, and that you are looking for a highly transparent, capable Class A headphone amp that can also serve as an objective, clean preamp with gain staging, the HP70 is a very solid piece of gear. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Let me know what you think about the HP70. Please use the links below if you would like to check out the HP70. It can really help support the channel.